Patty's swap Victor lies to Nikki. Billy's lead on Jack. Patty Williams will push for an exchange while Victor Newman piles on the deception with Nikki Newman. There'll also be new development in the search for Jack Abbott, so Billy Abbott will contemplate it. Thanks to Victor's photographic evidence that Jack was unconscious and got abducted, Billy may end up with a new clue to follow. There might be something in the picture that alerts Billy, Diane Jenkins Abbott and Kyle Abbott to a potential destination. It's not like Victor to be that sloppy, so Billy will acknowledge the possibility that it could be a trap or just a wrong guess. Nevertheless, Kyle will hold out hope that maybe they have a lead on where captive Jack is now. Since this will be the first potential clue about Jack's whereabouts, Diane won't think they can just sit back and ignore it. Even if it doesn't lead them straight to Jack, it could be a step in the right direction. Since Jack is currently floating on Lake Michigan in a yacht, locating him will prove challenging. However, there's a nearby marina involved that could become a hint for Billy, Kyle and Diane sooner or later. In the meantime, Victor will lie to Nikki, even if it's a lie by omission. Nikki deserves to know that Victor is holding Jack hostage with Patty of all people, but he'll keep her in the dark as long as he can. Nevertheless, Y&R spoilers: Nikki may smell trouble if she gets a whiff of Victor's possible agreement with Phyllis Summers. Since Nikki will inevitably find out about Jack disappearing at some point, she's going to blame Victor and unleash her wrath soon. Across town, Lauren Finmore Baldwin will continue to mull over Phyllis's job offer, so she may bring Michael Baldwin up to speed. There may be some talk about whether Lauren should go to work at NEWMAN Enterprises and risk riling up the Newmans. Regardless, Lauren and Michael may eventually learn there's much bigger news going on since Phyllis has been trying to negotiate a chancellor trade for Jack, Lily Winters and the twins. Speaking of trades, Patty will be willing to show Jack around the yacht if he'll give her a smooch. After Patty pitches that swap, Jack will vow to deliver on his end of the bargain and try to butter her up a little. In the ever-volatile world of the young and the restless, tension rises to a near unbearable level, as a dangerous web of secrets, deception and desperate gambles tightens around some of Genoa City's most powerful families. The latest chapter of this saga begins with the unpredictable and deeply troubled Patty Williams, whose obsession with loyalty and twisted sense of romance puts her at the center of a shocking hostage situation involving none other than Jack Abbott. Jack, long considered one of the pillars of Genoa City, now finds himself trapped on a yacht drifting across the cold, gray waters of Lake Michigan. Isolated from the outside world and guarded by Patty's volatile moods, Jack must rely on charm, strategy, and patience if he hopes to survive long enough for rescue to arrive. Meanwhile, the man ultimately responsible for orchestrating this dangerous scheme, Victor Newman, continues manipulating events from the shadows. Victor believes he is acting to protect his empire and settle old scores, but his choices are becoming increasingly reckless. Most troubling of all is the lie he tells, or rather the truth he deliberately withholds, from the woman who knows him better than anyone, Nikki Newman. Nikki senses that something is wrong long before the truth comes to light. Victor's evasive answers, his sudden disappearances, and the tension in his voice all set off alarm bells in her mind. Yet Victor continues pretending everything is under control, refusing to admit that he has secretly teamed up with Patty to hold Jack captive, as part of a ruthless negotiation strategy involving corporate power and personal revenge. While Victor tries to maintain control of the narrative, events elsewhere in Genoa City begin to move in directions he did not anticipate. Jack's brother, Billy Abbott, refuses to accept that Jack simply vanished without a trace. Billy has spent enough time battling Victor over the years to know that whenever something strange happens involving the Abbott family, Victor is never far from the center of it. Billy's instincts grow stronger when Victor produces photographic evidence, supposedly proving Jack was abducted while unconscious. At first glance, the photo appears to confirm Victor's story, Jack lying motionless while unknown assailants carry him away. But Billy's mind never stops analyzing details. As he studies the picture again and again, something about the background begins to bother him. Perhaps it is a distant dock structure barely visible in the frame, or the faint outline of boats moored behind a warehouse. Whatever the clue may be, Billy senses that the photograph contains more information than Victor intended to reveal. Determined to uncover the truth, Billy brings the image to two people who care about Jack as deeply as he does, Jack's wife Diane Jenkins Abbott and their son Kyle Abbott. Together they pore over the evidence like detectives, enlarging the picture and debating every shadow and reflection. Kyle, desperate to believe his father is still alive, becomes convinced the faint shapes in the background resemble a specific marina somewhere along the shoreline of Lake Michigan. Diane tries to stay cautious, reminding both men that Victor NEWMAN is not known for making careless mistakes. If the photograph truly reveals a location, then Victor may have allowed it intentionally, perhaps as part of a trap meant to lure them into another scheme. Billy acknowledges that possibility, yet he cannot ignore the chance that they finally have their first genuine lead. Even if it proves to be nothing more than a partial clue, it may move them one step closer to finding Jack before it is too late. Far away from the frantic search unfolding in Genoa City, Jack faces his own psychological battle aboard the yacht that serves as his floating prison. Patty Williams moves between moments of eerie sweetness and unpredictable menace, treating Jack alternately like a guest, a hostage, and the object of her romantic fantasies. Her latest demand reveals just how unstable the situation has become. Patty offers to give Jack a tour of the yacht, to show him the luxurious cabins, the glittering deck, and the endless horizon of open water, but only if he agrees to give her a kiss. For Patty, the request feels like a harmless flirtation, but Jack understands that every interaction with her must be handled with extreme care. One wrong word could send Patty spiraling into paranoia or rage. Recognizing that survival may depend on playing along, Jack forces a charming smile and assures Patty that he will gladly fulfill his end of any bargain that might make her happy. He compliments her intelligence and thanks her for keeping him safe from the mysterious enemies Victor claims are after him. Patty beams under the attention, clearly enjoying the idea that Jack might genuinely appreciate her company. Yet beneath Jack's polite words lies a calculated strategy. If he can keep Patty calm and cooperative long enough, perhaps he can learn more about where they are, or even convince her to help him escape. Every minute counts as the yacht drifts across Lake Michigan, sometimes near busy shipping routes but often alone in the vast open water where no one can hear a cry for help. Back in Genoa City, Victor NEWMAN's deception grows increasingly fragile as more people begin asking questions. Nikki NEWMAN, who has shared decades of triumphs and betrayals with Victor, senses the familiar pattern of a secret being hidden from her. She notices how Victor avoids discussing Jack's disappearance, how he changes the subject whenever the Abbott family is mentioned. Nikki's instincts tell her that Victor is far more involved in this situation than he admits. Though Victor insists that he is merely trying to help locate Jack, Nikki suspects he may actually know exactly where Jack is. If that suspicion turns out to be true, the consequences for their marriage could be devastating. Nikki has forgiven Victor for many ruthless acts over the years, but the idea that he would secretly hold a man hostage, especially someone as respected as Jack Abbott, might be a betrayal too far even for her. Elsewhere in the city, another thread of intrigue begins weaving into the growing crisis. Lauren Fenmore Baldwin finds herself wrestling with a professional dilemma after receiving an unexpected job offer from Phyllis Summers. Phyllis has been aggressively maneuvering behind the scenes, attempting to negotiate a massive corporate trade that could reshape the balance of power among Genoa City's elite families. The proposal involves exchanging control of Chancellor for the safe return of Jack, as well as protecting Lily Winters and her children. Lauren is intrigued by the opportunity but also deeply cautious. Accepting a position tied to NEWMAN Enterprises could anger Victor and Nikki, whose influence over Genoa City's business world remains enormous. Seeking guidance, Lauren turns to her husband, Michael Baldwin. Michael listens carefully as Lauren explains the offer, weighing the risks and rewards. As Victor's longtime attorney and confidant, Michael understands better than most how dangerous it can be to get caught in the middle of NEWMAN family politics. Yet even he cannot ignore the possibility that something much larger is happening behind the scenes, something involving Jack's disappearance, Victor's secrecy, and Phyllis's sudden push for a dramatic corporate deal. As the pieces slowly begin falling into place, Genoa City stands on the brink of an explosive revelation. Billy, Diane, and Kyle continue examining the mysterious photograph, increasingly convinced that the faint marina structures could point toward a specific harbor along Lake Michigan's sprawling coastline. If their theory proves correct, the marina might be close enough to Jack's drifting yacht to provide the breakthrough they desperately need. Meanwhile, Patty remains blissfully unaware that a rescue effort could already be forming. She continues indulging her fantasy of a romantic adventure with Jack, imagining that their time together on the yacht might somehow blossom into the love story she has always wanted. Jack plays along as best he can, masking his fear and frustration behind polite smiles while silently counting every passing mile of open water. And in the NEWMAN mansion, Victor clings to the belief that he can maintain control over the entire situation, that Nikki will not discover the truth until the deal is complete and his objectives have been achieved. But in Genoa City, secrets rarely stay buried for long. Once Nikki learns that Victor has been hiding Jack's captivity from her, and once Billy uncovers the location hidden in that photograph, the storm that follows may shake the NEWMAN empire to its very foundation. The drama intensifies further in the turbulent universe of the young and the restless as every character involved begins feeling the pressure of secrets that can no longer remain buried. The longer Jack Abbott remains missing, the more the people who love him refuse to accept the official explanation of events. In Genoa City, rumors spread quickly, and the unexplained disappearance of one of the town's most prominent businessmen sends waves of speculation through every boardroom and living room alike. Yet no one feels the strain more intensely than Jack's family. Billy Abbott, already known for acting on instinct rather than patience, becomes increasingly convinced that time is running out. Every moment wasted analyzing Victor's photograph could mean another hour Jack spends trapped in the middle of Lake Michigan, drifting farther from help. Billy's determination turns into a restless energy that fuels his investigation, and he begins retracing every step of Victor's story. Something about it simply does not add up. Victor insists he found Jack unconscious and photographed the scene before the supposed kidnappers escaped, but Billy cannot understand why Victor would just happen to have a camera ready at such a crucial moment.
While the Abbotts pursue their fragile lead, the atmosphere aboard the yacht holding Jack captive remains tense and unpredictable. Patty Williams continues hovering between friendliness and instability, treating Jack like the star of a romantic adventure that exists only in her imagination. She leads him around the yacht as promised, proudly showing off the polished wooden deck, the quiet lounge area below, and the small but elegant dining room where she has insisted on preparing meals herself. For Patty, the entire situation feels almost magical. She speaks about the open water as if it were a dreamscape where two misunderstood souls can escape the judgment of the world. Jack listens carefully, responding with gentle compliments and sympathetic smiles. Every word he chooses is deliberate. He understands that Patty's mood can change in an instant, and keeping her calm might be the only thing preventing a dangerous outburst. When Patty pauses beside the railing to gaze out at the endless water, Jack subtly studies the horizon, searching for any sign of land or passing vessels. Occasionally, he can see distant cargo ships gliding across the gray surface of Lake Michigan, their silhouettes fading in and out of the mist. The sight both encourages and frustrates him. Help is out there somewhere, but he has no way to signal anyone without alerting Patty. Back in Genoa City, the tension within the NEWMAN household continues building as Nikki NEWMAN becomes increasingly suspicious of her husband's behavior. Victor NEWMAN has always been a master strategist, but Nikki has spent enough years by his side to recognize when he is hiding something significant. She notices how carefully he chooses his words whenever Jack's disappearance is mentioned. Victor insists that he is doing everything possible to help locate Jack, yet he refuses to share details about the investigation he claims to be conducting. Nikki confronts him gently at first, asking why he seems so guarded. Victor brushes off her concerns with vague reassurances, claiming that he simply does not want to spread panic until more information becomes available. But Nikki senses the familiar wall going up between them, the same wall Victor has built many times before when he believes his actions must remain secret for the greater good of his empire. Though she cannot yet prove anything, Nikki begins quietly gathering her own information. She calls trusted contacts and asks subtle questions about Victor's recent activities, determined to uncover the truth before it explodes into something far worse. Meanwhile, across town, Lauren Fenmore Baldwin and Michael Baldwin continue discussing the complicated offer that Phyllis Summers placed on the table. Lauren understands that Phyllis rarely makes a move without several hidden motives behind it. The proposal for Lauren to take a role connected to NEWMAN Enterprises seems like a tempting opportunity, but it also feels suspiciously timed. With Jack missing and tensions rising among the city's most powerful families, any corporate shift could have major consequences. Michael listens thoughtfully as Lauren weighs the decision. As Victor's longtime lawyer, he has witnessed firsthand how ruthless the battle for control in Genoa City can become. He warns Lauren that accepting Phyllis's offer might place her directly in the middle of a conflict involving Victor, the Abbotts, and the Chancellor Empire. At the same time, Michael cannot deny that Phyllis's sudden push for negotiations involving Jack's return suggests something very serious is happening behind the scenes. If Phyllis truly believes Jack is being held as leverage for a corporate exchange, then the situation may be far more dangerous than anyone realizes. Out on the lake, the uneasy partnership between Jack and Patty continues evolving as the hours pass. Patty becomes increasingly animated as she talks about the future she imagines for them, a future where Jack appreciates her loyalty and understands that she has always been the one person who truly sees him. Jack recognizes the emotional vulnerability behind her words, and he carefully feeds into the fantasy just enough to keep her cooperative. When Patty reminds him of the kiss he promised earlier, Jack smiles softly and tells her that he meant every word. The brief moment of affection sends Patty into a joyful spiral, reinforcing her belief that Jack might eventually return her feelings. Yet beneath Jack's calm exterior, his mind races with possibilities. During the tour of the yacht, he noticed several important details: the location of the radio equipment, the path to the storage deck, and the timing of Patty's routines. If the opportunity arises, those observations might help him send a distress signal or escape entirely. For now, though, patience remains his most valuable weapon. Back in Genoa City, Billy's investigation begins moving faster once he identifies the marina that could match the background of Victor's photograph. He shares the discovery with Diane and Kyle, explaining that the layout of the docks and the distinctive cranes align almost perfectly with the shapes in the image. The marina sits along a quieter stretch of Lake Michigan's shoreline, not far from several shipping routes where a yacht might blend easily among commercial traffic. Kyle immediately wants to alert the authorities, but Billy hesitates. If Victor truly set a trap using the photograph, rushing into action could make things worse. Diane suggests a compromise, discreetly sending someone to observe the marina before making any official move. That way they can confirm whether a yacht matching Jack's situation has been spotted nearby. The plan feels risky, yet doing nothing feels even worse. As they finalize their strategy, the sense of urgency in the room becomes almost overwhelming. Every person present understands that Jack's life could depend on what they decide next. At the NEWMAN ranch, Victor continues believing he can control the outcome of the crisis, but the cracks in his plan are beginning to show. He tells himself that once the negotiations involving Chancellor are completed, Jack will be released and the entire situation will fade into the background like so many other battles he has fought. Yet Victor also knows that if Nikki discovers the truth before the deal is finished, her anger could derail everything. Nikki has tolerated many of Victor's ruthless tactics over the years, but she has also drawn lines when innocent people were placed in danger. Jack Abbott, despite their rivalry, has always commanded a certain level of respect in Genoa City. If Nikki learns that Victor deliberately kept her in the dark while Jack was held hostage with someone as unstable as Patty Williams, her reaction may be explosive. For the first time since launching this risky strategy, Victor feels the faint stirrings of doubt about whether he underestimated the emotional fallout. As night falls over Lake Michigan, the yacht drifts slowly across darkening water, while distant lights flicker along the shoreline far beyond Jack's reach. Inside the cabin, Patty hums softly while preparing dinner, completely unaware that several determined people in Genoa City are inching closer to discovering the truth. Jack sits quietly at the table, maintaining his polite demeanor while listening to the quiet creak of the vessel moving through gentle waves. Somewhere out there, he believes, Billy and the rest of his family must be searching.